The Forgotten Cabin. Deep in the heart of the forest, miles away from the nearest town, there was an old cabin that everyone in the area had heard whispers about. Its rotting wood and sagging roof had become a local legend, a place where people went missing and where strange lights flickered in the dead of night. Most people stayed away, but curiosity has a way of leading people to their doom. Jessica had always been intrigued by ghost stories. When she found out that her family's cabin, a little getaway spot they hadn't used in years, was not far from this infamous cabin, she decided to investigate. Her friends were hesitant, but they were drawn by the thrill of proving that it was just a story. On a chilly autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jessica, Mark, Emily, and Jake packed their gear and set off into the forest. They laughed and joked as they made their way through the dense trees, but the atmosphere grew tense as darkness enveloped them. The only sound was the crunch of leaves beneath their feet and the occasional distant hoot of an owl. When they finally reached the cabin, its appearance was just as unsettling as the stories had described. The structure leaned precariously to one side, its windows dark and shattered, and a thick layer of grime covered the broken door. Despite their unease, the group decided to go inside, thinking it would be fun to explore. The inside of the cabin was even more decrepit than the outside. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. Old furniture was covered in dust and cobwebs, and strange scratches marred the wooden floors. Emily, trying to lighten the mood, set up a lantern in the middle of the room, its flickering light casting eerie shadows on the walls. As the night wore on, the atmosphere grew more oppressive. Jessica and her friends took turns telling ghost stories, but the stories seemed to come to life. Strange creaks and groans echoed through the cabin, and every gust of wind against the walls made them jump. Around midnight, Mark decided to explore the upper floor. The stairs creaked ominously as he ascended, and the others could hear him walking around up there. Suddenly, the lantern's light flickered wildly and went out, in the heart of the forest, plunging the room into miles away from the nearest town. Panic set in as they scrambled to relight it, in the area but the darkness seemed to cling to them, suffocating their attempts to regain their composure. Had become a local legend, a loud crash from above made them freeze, where strange lights flickered in the dead of night. Jessica called out. Most people stayed away, there was no response. But curiosity has a way of leading people to their doom, and the group huddled together. Jessica had always been intrigued by the light of the flickering lantern. When she found out that her family's cabin, trembling, a little getaway spot they hadn't used in years, but as they started towards the stairs, from this infamous cabin, a soft, eerie whisper to investigate. As if someone was speaking right next to their ears, but they were drawn by the thrill of proving that Jessica led the way up the stairs. Her heart on a chilly autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, was just as decrepit as the lower one. Emily, with peeling wallpaper and broken furniture, set off into the forest. Mark's flashlight lay on the floor and joked as they made their way through a series of deep scratches on the wall. The atmosphere grew tense as darkness as they approached the end of the hallway. The only sound was the crunch of leaves slightly ajar and the occasional distant hoot of an owl. Jessica pushed the door open, reached the cabin. Its appearance was just as unsettling as the stories had described. Dusty mirror covered by a sheet leaned precariously to one side. To pull the sheet away, windows dark, a chilling gust of wind, and a thick layer of grime extinguishing the lantern. Despite their unease, into darkness the group decided to go inside, suffocating silence to envelop them. The inside of the cabin was even more decrepit than the outside, and more insistent. The air was thick with the smell of mildew, their fear palpable. Old furniture was covered in dust and cobwebs, and as strange scratches marred the wooden floors. They saw not their reflections, but a series of ghostly figures set up a lantern in the middle of the room, reaching out with flickering light casting eerie shadows on the walls. Ghostly presence seemed to fill the night wore on, and the friends felt an oppressive weight pressing down on them. Jessica and her friends took turns telling ghost stories, but the stories seemed to come to life. The cabin seemed to come alive. Strange creaks and groans echoed through the floor beneath them, and every gust of wind against the walls made them jump. Was trying to swallow them whole. Around midnight, Mark decided to explore the upper floor. They raced down the stairs and out into the forest. The stairs creaked ominously as he ascended. They didn't stop running until they reached the safety of the moonlit clearing where their car was suddenly. The lantern's light breathing heavily wildly, they looked and went out, but the cabin had vanished, replaced by an impenetrable wall of trees and darkness. But the darkness seemed to cling to them. Her friends never spoke their attempts to regain their composure, but the memory haunted them forever. A loud crash from above. No one ever found the cabin again, and it became another whispering legend in the forest. But there was no response. The veil between worlds was thin, the air grew colder, those who dared to enter might never return, their breaths visible in the dim light of the flickering lantern. Emily, her voice trembling, suggested they check on Mark, but as they started towards the stairs, they heard a soft, eerie whisper, as if someone was speaking right next to their ears, but no one was there. Jessica led the way up the stairs, her heart pounding in her chest. The upper floor was just as decrepit as the lower one, with peeling wallpaper and broken furniture. Mark's flashlight lay on the floor, its beam illuminating a series of deep scratches on the wall. As they approached the end of the hallway, a door that had been closed was now slightly ajar, creaking softly. Jessica pushed the door open, revealing a small, dark room. In the center was an old, dusty mirror covered by a sheet. As she moved to pull the sheet away, a chilling gust of wind rushed through the room, extinguishing the lantern. The room was plunged into darkness again, and a heavy, suffocating silence enveloped them. Suddenly, the whispering returned, louder and more insistent. The friends huddled together, their fear palpable. The mirror began to glow with a ghostly light, and as Jessica and her friends peered into it, they saw not their reflections but a series of ghostly figures moving behind them, reaching out with spectral hands. A cold, ghostly presence seemed to fill the room, and the friends felt an oppressive weight pressing down on them. Desperate, they stumbled back towards the stairs, but as they did, the cabin seemed to come alive. The walls shook, and the floor beneath them twisted and groaned as if the very structure was trying to swallow them whole. In a frenzied panic, they raced down the stairs and out into the forest. They didn't stop running until they reached the safety of the moonlit clearing where their car was parked. Breathing heavily, they looked back, but the cabin had vanished, replaced by an impenetrable wall of trees and darkness. Jessica and her friends never spoke of that night again, but the memory haunted them forever. No one ever found the cabin again, and it became another whispering legend in the forest, a place where the veil between worlds was thin and where those who dared to enter might never return.